the people ask me, what is the biggest challenge you face when it's the mindset, right? It's that the mindset of no paycheck security that you have to overcome. And finally, I was able to overcome that in 2013 and launched Nitya Capital. And the basic focus was, the goal was never to make profit. The goal was always how to improve people's living conditions, because I grew up in the same apartment communities. I grew up working in those same apartment communities, and being a finance guy that I was, and I found that there's an opportunity where you could also make returns and raise capital around it.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter. I have a true treasure for you guys today. And as I read his bio, I think you will appreciate why I call him a treasure, because not only is this a gentleman who leads a company of about 500 people that specializes in real estate investing, which is of course what this show is about, but if you actually watch some of the videos on his website, on his platform, you will find that he seems to care as much about personal growth or the capacity to be an integrous human being as any other team member you would want on your team. And as you know, I am particularly finicky and fickle about to be absolutely opinionated. My listeners know, Swapnil, that I am truly a believer in teamwork and the quality of your team, and that yes, you need to do your research. Yes, you need to build your network, and you need to be personally responsible for what you have going. But your team is really your definer of your overall success at the end of the day. So let me read your bio, and then I will give you a chance to do some talking.
Sure.
All right, let me get back to it here. All right, as you can see that I'm going to mess it up again, my listeners know. The Swapnil is here with Nitya Capital, and it is amazing to me that they are so vertically integrated, because you will see as we walk through their website here a little bit that they also have a property management company, which I'm hoping you will tell us about, because it's part of your success formula in your company. Swapnil has been responsible for strategic planning, investment decisions, and overseeing all aspects of the company's operations, financing activities, and investor relations. He's over 15 years of financial investment experience, with over 12 years of experience in real estate globally. Swapnil began his career in energy investment banking in Simons and Company before joining Forum Partners, an international real estate private equity firm with over $5 billion in assets, where he focused on originating, structuring, and executing real estate investments in the Asian Pacific region. He was personally responsible for closing deals in companies worth $3 billion in India, China, Australia, Korea, with total equity deployed of $6 million. Swapnil has most recently head of alternative investments in Virtus Real Estate Capital in Austin, Texas. At Virtus, Swapnil was responsible for multifamily assets across the United States. You graduated with honors from the University of Texas at Austin with a BBA in finance. But honestly, I suspect your story runs much deeper than this in what research I've done. You're not actually originally from the United States. You actually came here as a teenager. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And because I think that's part of your inspiration for who you are as an investor.
It's so funny how you were reading my profile, and I started to believe that person's life can be really compressed in 2 paragraphs.
No, it can't.
It made me, a step back. I was like, well, let me think about it. And then you asked the question, so it's pretty ironic. So, as you said, look, I think, physically, and my goals and my dreams are always to be in America.
Okay.
Physically, I was born in India in a small town in Agra. After consistent pressure on my parents, I was able to convince them, and we moved to America so that I can achieve my dreams. We came to Houston, Texas in 1996. I was in high school back then.
Okay.
And, it's so funny because, when you're in India and I was growing up as a kid, you always dream about the Western world as like some sort of like a fairyland, right? That's kind of, we look at, even the maid comes in a car, right? So nobody can be poor here, right? So that's what we think about. And we're of course, we come from developing countries. So it makes us dream big. We say, look, that's a land of opportunities. And when I got here, it couldn't be like completely opposite in terms of what I initially saw, where I saw how hard the struggles of people's lives are, how difficult it's just hard work is required everywhere you go. The only difference I saw here was that at least the platform seemed to be equal for everyone to succeed, right? In
Yes.
developing countries like India and China and so forth,
That's not the case.
the odds are stacked very against you, and at least in America, through your sheer hard work and intelligence and then a little bit of luck, you can achieve a lot of things. And that's what I realized when I came here, and that started my journey to where I am today. And in the the middle pages are always the boring ones. So and I'm still in the middle of it, and not that it's the end of it, but it's went to high school here again, struggled really hard, passed out pizza flyers in same apartment communities that we own today, worked in a mall, and had 3 jobs supporting my way through college and UT, and and did my finance degree. And my biggest goal was that I didn't want my parents to be disappointed that they moved here in their later stages of life and I'm not successful. So I said I wanted to be in finance, contrary to what people of my generation, I'm the 80s, early 80s born. And being an engineer or doctor is how, within Indian community at least, that was looked upon as the favorite for smart kids. But business, commerce was always considered, as somebody who's not so smart would do. But I had made up my mind that I wanted to be in finance, and within finance, what's the highest paying job that I can get? And people told me it's investment banking. So I wanted to be an investment banker. Then after investment banking, what do? You do private equity. Well, I wanted to be in private equity, so I did that. So I followed the very traditional financial path to success, to a lot of the, Wall Street, as you call it, right, that people follow. Yeah. But, within those 10 years of working in corporate or finance, Wall Street world, I realized that this is not really what I want to do. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always had that entrepreneurial urge. And so I finally, the people ask me, what is the biggest challenge you face when it's the mindset, right? It's that the mindset of no paycheck security that you have to overcome. And finally, I was able to overcome that in 2013 and launched Nitya Capital. And the basic focus was, the goal was never to make profit. The goal was always to how to improve people's living conditions. Because I grew up in the same apartment communities, I grew up working in those same apartment communities, and being a finance guy that I was, and I found that there's an opportunity where you could also make returns and raise capital around it. And that's where everything comes together. As Paulo Coelho says, if you really want something, the world will come together to make it happen. And that's when it happened for me. And started with a little 37-unit apartment complex in 2013 in Louisville, Texas, and kept growing from there. And now we have 2.5 billion of assets, close to 20,000 apartment units across the country, and 1.5 million square foot of commercial office space. We're in single family, we're in mixed use retail, we're in development. So really essentially building up such a unique platform, because we act as private equity, where we raise capital, we execute, we acquire, but then we also are vertically integrated, where we do our own operations, our own property management. We have 700 plus employees. We have departments such as accounting, asset management, finance, HR, IT. And then, so somebody working here really get to see the full spectrum of a deal cycle, right? It's not just the financial modeling that people are doing, putting together presentations, or you're not just working for a third-party management company that doesn't really understand, they're just doing their job. Here you get, you acquire property for, let's say, 100 million. You go through how you're adding value, how you're increasing the NOI, and then selling it for a profit, hopefully one day. It's a very unique platform, and I'm so proud of it. So that's where we are today.
Well, I just want to repeat a few of the things. So you guys have 2 billion in assets currently. Yeah. You've got 74 deals. You have several of them who've already closed. So you actually have at least 29 of them, which is closed. So proof
at least 100 plus, yeah, we have bought and sold.
Okay, I have old numbers. I have old numbers off of your website. 200,000 square feet in multifamily, 1 million square feet in commercial, and 300,000 in retail and mixed use.
20,000 units in multifamily.
20,000 units in multifamily. And that's quite extensive. That's a lot of growth between 2013 and 2021.
Yes.
That is not done casually. I've been investing for 35 years. I cannot roll those numbers out, but I also haven't developed the team and partnership that you have developed. So clearly something inside of you or inside of your partnership that I know you have a partner in your company. So I'm kind of trying to lay the groundwork for that. And your wife, who's also a big part of it, something inside of you or inside of the three of you created this drive, this true push and desire to create something extraordinary. That's just my word. When I observe it, because I've interviewed probably 80 people at least, if just in this podcast, and I had a previous podcast where I was also interviewing people. So I'd say I probably interviewed over 200 to 300 people. And I would say in observing the growth of your company, that your growth and your attention to the quality of your company is extraordinary and unusual. I'm just observing from the outside. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm projecting.
No, thank you so much. I'll tell you. So I'd say that my biggest strength is that I take the leap of faith in people. I invest in people. So when I started this company, for the slightest period of time, I never had an objective of how much money I'm going to make, right? Any money that I made, I basically tapped into my ex-resources, my ex-bosses, my friends. Vivek, my partner, who's my partner, you just mentioned, he's my first friend that I made in high school, right? And when I came to America, the CEO, the managing director of the property management company, he was the first Indian friend I had who just immigrated from India as well, worked in a gas station, and he's my CEO and heading the operations. And I have Mohammed, again, same subdivision. So the core executive team, including my wife, we are so close. And I kept taking the leap of faith. And on their side, they took the leap of faith in my drive and my vision. And they were there to support that and help.
Yeah, it's very clear here. I can see it as I'm just showing your website for those of you who are watching on this on YouTube or Roku TV. You can see, I know this, just again, you just described the history that you have, this managing principal that you were saying that you guys have been friends since high school. Yes,
my college roommate, our first jobs together, it almost feels like he's married to me.
Well, and your wife is here as well. So she actually is married to you. I believe she's down here.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Right? And she's your head of marketing.
Yes, and again, my wife, I've known her since middle school. So it's, for me, my core circle is always the people I've known for 25 plus years.
Yeah, and clearly they seem central to your company as well.
Yes.
And I guess that's part of why it's like, what is it inside of you guys that drove to have such an extraordinary company? Your growth has been exponential and you seem to be capable of doing it. You have faith in people, and yet it's led to this exponential growth. So tell me more, because honestly, I have a master's in psychology and I'm getting the faith in people part, but clearly there's an ambition or a drive to either make a change on the face of this planet. Huge drive. Okay, we're going to own the huge drive. Okay, that's good. That's good. There's a huge drive.
That drive really is, to be honest,
tell me.
I don't know where it comes from. It's just within me that and people are just amazed by it. And I'd say that I've always had that ambition. Like I said, when I was growing up in India, I just wanted to do something big in life, right? So, and I kept pushing through the challenges that came, never looked behind. And even till today, that fire, I mean, you would say, like some outsider like you said, look, you have achieved so much in 8 years. I mean, what's going to keep pushing? But for me, this is just the second inning of a 9-inning ball game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and the people don't understand. It's like, how can you want more? What do you want more? I said, no, this is nothing, because I feel that why I've been put in this world by God, I have a bigger purpose to serve. And if I don't serve that purpose, I think that God will be disappointed in me. And that's ultimately what's leading me to become the biggest businessman or real estate empire in the world. And maybe I will do it, hopefully one day.
I am so glad you went there, because that is, again, forgive me. And, normally I don't talk about purpose on my show, but I'm a great believer of it. As I observe from the outside, I am like, this person or this company is driven to create something much greater than themselves. Like that is all over this.
Absolutely.
Right? So let me share here just for a moment some of your professional awards, if you want to call it, right? So Ernst and Young's Entrepreneur of the Year of 2017, Young and Entrepreneur of the Year of 2017 at the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston, But some of the other things that stood out to me was, that your property management company ranked 15th out of 150 companies as top workplace in Houston by the Houston Chronicle.
Yeah, we have to update this. We were the #1 Inc. 5,000 fastest growing company in Houston in 2017 also.
Yes, that's right here on the list. You were property management is ranked as 33rd in best places to work by Multifamily Leadership Summit in 2019. This is not something that you guys slapped together. I'm sorry.
No, lot of thought behind it.
There's a lot of time behind this, being able to create this type of,
and I'll tell you something that's unique, because I mentioned all the departments in my company. One thing I didn't mention, we have 3 full-time culture coaches or psychologists that basically, because the biggest challenge I face in the business I am in, we have a great team, 83 people in the corporate office, right? But guess what? $100 million property I buy, who's going to execute the business plan, the pretty presentation I raised money for? The property manager, the leasing agents, the maintenance guys.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Those guys, 99% have not attended college.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I'm relying on basically the property manager, who's maybe a high school graduate, is responsible or a CEO of a $100 million company or asset.
Right.
So, I have never seen a dichotomy of such extent between roles. So the biggest challenge I face as a CEO is, how do I reduce that gap? How do I make these on-site people understand the value of $1? It's not $1, it's $1 multiplied by 20, because 5 cap rate. Even now cap rates are 4 cap rates.
Yes.
So you're basically taking, if you increase your NOI by $1, increasing value by 25. How do you explain to them IRRs and what investors look for? But then but there's so many more challenges at the property level. You have angry tenants coming, you have service problem. Again, we're dealing with older vintage assets. So then that complications and challenges the corporate staff, who are the millennials, the white collar, like, that me and you are. But how do I make them understand the complexities of real business? So my job constantly is to keep reducing that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sitting here in corporate office and air conditioned, how do I understand the pain that a plumber at my property might be going through, or how, the issues that might be the HVAC system or the chiller system is having? There's a plumbing leak. How do I figure all that out? So how do I combine that? And we can sit here and promise my LPs, I'm going to make you 10% cash or cash, 20% IRR. But how do I explain that same math to that same person who's saying, sir, it's going to cost $5,000 to fix this plumbing leak? And guess what? My cash flows are wiped out. So we are always striving and pushing each one of our staff to do better, to push boundaries without complimenting them, without understanding their personal issues. So we have 2 culture coaches that just go to the property level and talk to these people as people without talking to them about anything about job. Right? Today, I'll show you once we are done. We're having a Kentucky Derby afternoon. So after we are done, you can see there's all these people gathered in their back, and we're all celebrating. So a lot of that comes down to culture. A lot of 30% of the profit that we make is Nitya in terms of carried interest. We distribute to our employees. Every single one of our employees is participant in the profit of the company, right? So This is how you incentivize. This is how you motivate. You bring that culture, which, again, why I started this business is the corporate world, the corporate America never treats people as its best assets. People are your biggest assets. If a company or an organization does not realize that, the company will not be successful for a long period of time. So we invest in people. That's how we are unique.
Okay. Again, looking from the outside. So I look at your what's your IRR? And then I look at your investors' return and I go, there's a space in there. They're investing in their company. Like I could see it in your numbers, even from this far away. There's a space where they're investing in their company. And there's a reason why they were able to grow to 500 people between this year and this year. And there's a reason why you get the honors that you get as being recognized as the best workplace. And again, you heard early on, my passion and my belief is that it is my team that makes my investments successful, because every time an investment has not failed, it has been a team member that in some way I have ignored, I misunderstood, underestimated, or overestimated somewhere along the way. That's my accountability, right? Because I have to hold myself accountable for my piece of it, right?
Absolutely.
So I just, it stood out to me. So forgive me for wanting to pull back the Band-Aid or pull back the cover story as best as I can and sort of prove my own point or stand on top of my own point of view, which is, being able to use real estate to fulfill one's purpose, I would suggest is almost of higher value than your IRR.
Absolutely. We are building communities. We are providing people living spaces. A lot of those people are the ones that need it the most, who make $30,000 median household income. They are used to living in communities, and I was one of them, so I can speak on their behalf. I have earned that right.
Exactly. That's what I expected. That's why I expected you to go when you said, how can I understand how to make that gap smaller is, but I started in that community.
I attend a lot of conferences. I speak quite a bit, as you mentioned. I have plenty of videos, and people ask me as a finance or real estate investor, your strategy is value add, multifamily. That's what they call. How do you add value? And people talk about very fancy things about, putting a nice a swimming pool with furniture, and they have golf stimulation, all kinds of very amenities. But at the end, I say, look, all these people need is a clean, safe place to live. That's
clean, comfortable, and contemporary.
That's it. They just need a clean and safe place, because a lot of these communities we own suffer from a lot of high crime areas, suffer from lower income tenant base. So it's natural that there's a lot of issues in these properties. And how can we make it better where people are very free about raising their kids, and then enjoy have that dream of living that American dream. It's just, that is ultimately the bigger purpose, and to do that, if you can do that, everything else will follow, including the IRRs and equity market.
Thank you for indulging my interest in the mindset and the culture of the company and the culture that you guys have brought to the company. I will for a moment try to get you to unfold a little bit for those people that are listeners that are a little more, we could call it left brain oriented or a little more investment driven. So I know you guys specialize in being able to make your properties perform. And I know that you have an IRR of your company around 20%. Your investor return seems to be a multiplier. Your investor multiplier is 1.6 across the life of an investment in general. What is it that is more of your quote unquote secret sauce? I have my guesses as to what I think it is, but why don't you tell me? What is it that makes your company? Go ahead.
Yeah, a very entrepreneurial mindset and an ability to make decisions at the snap of the fingers.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and essentially that's how I could have grown in this short period of time, because you have to take instantaneous decisions. And it's not easy, because there's so many distractions, there's so many challenges, whether it's raising equity or getting debt or finding opportunities. Or when you did start the business, when I started the business, we were paying about 30, 35,000 a unit, and people are like, this is overpaying. You used to buy this 15,000 a door, and guess what? Now those things are trading for 150 a door, right? So it's just having conviction in your own self about why you are doing it, and if the numbers work, you have to believe in what you're doing. And that mindset of making quick decisions, move forward without deliberating too much, I would say is the secret sauce.
Okay. That would be the secret sauce behind the secret sauce. Because also I would say one of the other things is, because you're vertically integrated, you're capable of making a decision here, and it will be implemented down here, because you guys really do control your own acquisitions.
Absolutely.
You do control your own management. It really is I can't remember the name of them, the two people you had that actually travel to your properties. It's a mindset coach.
Yes.
Right? It's your mindset coach that's actually showing up. So that person really is engaged in your business model. Yes. And therefore it is a completeness. That building is wrapped in a complete process that belongs to you guys, which allows you to control it.
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe I don't work for your company, but I'm just guessing based on.
No, I think your guess is absolutely right.
So I would say that's part of your secret sauce. And tell me more about your investor relations. Like I'm an investor, right? After 35 years, I've cashed out of almost everything. I own just a few doors of my own, and I invest in syndicated deals, and I do hard money lending and stocks. And, I have this diversified portfolio, right? I don't want to start over again. My daughter's 11. I want to be able to pick her up from school. Forgive me, it's just straight up mom and pop. I want to pick her up from school, make sure she had a good day. That's the purpose of my real estate portfolio, is to provide a life that is comfortable, smooth, and loving for my family, right? As much peace as possible that one can carve out on this physical plane.
Yeah.
Right? So I get to do that. I get the pleasure and the luxury of that. But at the same time, I'm an investor. How do you treat your investors? People like me that go, hey, you know what? I'm going to hand you $100,000. How are you going to make sure it works for me? And how are you going to make sure I'm safe?
You know, it's funny because when I first bought that 37-unit apartment complex in Louisville, Texas, actually the real reason was I wanted to put my own savings to work. It was $300,000. It was $1 million loan. It was $1.3 million property. And I said, let me just, just put this money to work and maybe I'll grow from there. I'll see. So I made a presentation. I sent it to my friends that they're on the website. And they said, we would like to put some money. And I said, well, at that time I had a choice, like, well, I can do it on my own or I take their money and so I can buy more deals myself. So that my first deal started with 6 investors, all my close. And now I have a list of 1,800 investors, all grown through references. So a lot of them I know as we grew early on, had to build a relationship, but I always kept one thing in mind. Whenever I met any investor and any potential LP, and they said, let's say their appetite was to invest 200,000 as an example that you used, I would always tell them that, why don't you start with $25,000? Because I want you to feel comfortable in the platform you're investing. Once you are comfortable, then put more money. Don't put all the capital you have in first deal. And I think that came from true, I would say, good intentions of mine. And as a conscious level, I wanted to be sure to myself, deep down, that is this something that I can execute and do? Because we all have our own doubts. And I continue to do so. But I would always make sure that biggest risk I take in every deal I do is mine, right? So I significantly invest a lot of capital of my own in each deal.
Okay.
I'm again personally signing on the loans, covenants, and every lender requirements. So more than everything I sign, more than anything I do, I think the biggest thing I can say to any potential LP is everything I have built in this life, which is my reputation, is on the line for me, right? If I do not perform, if I'm unable to perform, this is my reputation. It is my wealth that I built over my lifetime. And I'm putting that at stake along with you guys, more so than you guys, because you will only lose your $100,000. I will lose everything I have. And if something potentially doesn't work out, which we've never had a loss in 100+ properties we have bought so far. We have returned 10.8% annual cash in the 8 years. We have 22% IRRs on the sold deals that we have. So we haven't done a bad job yet, but if in a long period cycle, there's always going to be a bad deal. Just know that I will be standing behind it. And if it wasn't because of lack of effort that we're in the position, it just must be some other crazy circumstances. So that's really the pitch and investor relation I have. And it's so funny and ironic that a lot of events I walk into, people come and say, hey, Swapnil, and they say, I'm an investor in your property. I have invested. And the only thing I ask, I hope you're happy and satisfied with your investment. So it's come to that level, and I'm grateful and very fortunate that we have built a platform which has a brand and has a trust and faith from a lot of our investors. And I hope that continues and never dies.
The fact that you signed the loan documents yourself, right?
Yes.
That you're in there and that your own money is in every deal.
Yes.
There's a level of accountability that goes in that. It's like, I can't say the word, but whatever. If this goes wrong, then really it is for me to sort out. There isn't anybody else that I'm going to be able to push it down the line to. This
and Christina, I would tell you, sorry to interrupt, is we always prioritize investors' returns. So there are cases where, because real estate as an operation is a much more complicated business than buying and just selling properties, because you have your working capital issues, your cash flows issues, because your mortgage payments, your payrolls are due first of the month, but a lot of the rents keep flowing through till end of the month because we are dealing with, again, blue collar property. So managing the cash flow and then spending money on capex from your own pocket and then waiting for the lenders to fund that 6 months later, it's a constant catch up of the working capital and the cash flow cycle. I mean, these are the things that intricacies of an operating business. So a lot of times we put aside our fees to prioritize investors' distribution. And, during COVID last year, a lot of companies, they came out and said no distributions this year. But last year, as a portfolio, on average, we did 5.6% cash on cash, which is really good during the 2020 year, which public REITs are returning 3%. So these are the unsaid rules, because we won't put that in the documents that I'm signing.
That's right.
But this is the mindset you have. The mindset needs to be there. Take care of your investors. Everything else will just go.
Yes, the mindset and commitment. Absolutely. Okay, so let me ask real quick, because we have about 10 minutes left. Let me ask real quick. I said early on, I explained to you that real estate can go great. It can have wonderful upsides. Could be fun, especially for an entrepreneur, and especially for somebody who sees their purpose being fulfilled through the process of real estate. Love that. I think that would be my hope for everybody in real estate, that they understand how their purpose is being fulfilled by their process in real estate. That would be my hope. Can't assure that. I can just hope for that. Try to cultivate that. Now, but not every deal goes right. Tell me about your worst deal. What'd you learn? How'd you solve it? What'd you learn from it? How to grow you up?
Yeah, I would say, Christina, in terms of numbers itself, we haven't, by knock on wood, God's grace, we haven't had a deal that has lost money.
Okay.
But I would say the experience wise that the third deal that I bought, it opened my eyes, because it was probably in the worst area of Houston. And it had, tenant base that we do not want to be associated with. And here I am sitting at the property, acting like a property manager. So by the way, when I started the business, so I was a property manager. I was the rent collector. I was the guy who raised money. I was the guy who signed the loan. I was the guy who's putting my together. I was the one who put the company agreement for the lawyers together. So I did all that, right? So here I am and trying to collect rents from these gangster kind of people and trying to act tough like a short Indian guy in front of a big guy. And, it teaches you a lot of things. And so I would say that really opened up, because, here I was coming from working in a high rise in Hong Kong, traveling business class across Asia Pacific. And I'm sitting in a class B property, scared for my life, and then I'm like, what did I just do? This is the right decision of my life or what, And those 6 months that you had to go through this, but when I eventually came out on the other side, it really shaped the future of this company, I can say.
I love those moments. I've had a couple in my life where you sit down, you have to truly self-assess. Did I completely hose this? Because maybe I did. And how am I gonna unmess this up? Or how am I, what have I got myself into? And then you commit and you step your way through it until you get to this and you take your lessons from it. And like you said, it has shaped your company. What are some of the values you've pulled out of it that has shaped your company? What are some of the core lessons?
And the biggest is never giving up. Never give up attitude. You constantly gonna get punched out, and you gotta keep standing back up. And the never give up attitude, no matter how bad the situation is. Always be prepared for the worst, because in real estate it will happen.
Yes, it will.
There will never be a smooth closing in my career, and I've done 100+ deals and over $3 billion of acquisitions. So there never will be a smooth. There will always be the biggest issue you're going to have is people issue. Even though you love your people, they're the biggest assets. But when you have 700 employees, there's bound to be communication gaps. There's bound to be this friction between different groups and departments. So that will continue to happen. So how you deal with it is what will define how you do as a company.
It will. It actually will define what you do as a company. Last question. Why use real estate for your financial freedom, and what does financial freedom mean to you? Now, most people, it's like, I want to someday not work, but for you, your purpose is already drained into your real estate. There isn't, I'm going to guess if I may, that there's not a reason for you to stop working if the fulfillment of your purpose is right here in front of you every day.
Christina, I'll say that once I started the business, obviously the first goal was to improve people's living condition. And now what I've realized is real estate should, as an asset class, should be part of everyone's savings portfolio, right? That has become my other goal. That has become, and people are so uneducated. And another point, side point I would say is when we grow up in education system, whether it's America, I've gone to school in India, we are never taught financial freedom. We are never taught about investment. We are taught calculus, we are taught algebra, we are taught geography, but we are never taught investing your money, right? Let money work for you. And then this is the biggest complaint I have with the education system we have currently. Nobody knows about the real world, how you invest money, how do you make money. They all train you to get a job. They don't train you to make money or be an entrepreneur.
They do. That's correct. Yes.
But
Yes. Speak it, baby. Speak it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It has become my goal that to educate people that how important real estate as an asset class is for their portfolio, because all they are taught is put in a mutual fund or put in some stocks or Fortune 500 blue chip companies, and or buy if somebody is willing to take risk, buy a rated bond to make 5% return, or put it in a bank as a FD to make 1%, right? Nobody knows. But guess what? Real estate provides you investment in hard assets with a very, very low downside risk if you are investing with a company or institution or doing it yourself in a financially sensible way. Constant cash flows, yields that are better than anything out there in the market currently. And you get tax benefit on depreciation. So this is has become my goal to educate and make sure that currently, if you look at the statistics, and I did that, I had my team do this research, only 3% of the world's savings portfolio is comprised of real estate, right? I mean, this is a very low number for
very low number.
As big as real estate. So majority of 97% money is where? Either in banks, sitting in banks, stock market, bonds, or funds like Fidelity and whatnot, right? So now to do that, we have launched our own crowdfunding platform, which is on our website, nityacapital.com/invest, where anybody can sit in any part of the world and invest in different kinds of real estate asset classes. That is my goal, that you have the access now, because before, and you can't fault the public either, because, well, people traditionally think about, as I was growing up, well, to buy real estate, you have to be a millionaire, right?
That's
You can't do it. That's the mindset you're taught. Well, I can't buy this hotel. It costs $10 million or even $2 million. People can't dream about. Now, $25,000 or even less for some of the other ones, you can become fractional owner in different hard asset real estate. And that is, I think, I would say, my biggest mission. And I hope I continue to do so through my platform and just educating in general, so people can do it through however they want to.
All right, let's bring this to a close. So if people want to invest with you, because they're investors like me, if people want to bring you a building because they feel like it fits your profile that we've laid out here, how do they get a hold of you? And I'm showing your website right here. So why don't you go, but say it verbally, because remember, this is a podcast as well.
Yes, so you go to www.Nitya Capital, N for Nancy, ITYA, capital.com. And that's our website. And if you want to go through a crowdfunding website, you go to the same website, nityacapital.com/invest.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. I didn't know what that was. Here it is.
Yes. So directly through that link, you are able to subscribe to all the current offerings that we have.
Okay. Thank you so very, very much for your time. I so appreciate it. Thank you for your enthusiasm. And thank you for following your purpose in this life. The world always gets better with every person who's willing to be dedicated to meeting the challenge of their purpose, because purpose isn't always easy. It's fulfilling, but sometimes it's challenging. Just saying. All right, this is Christina Suter with Real Estate Breakthrough Show. Thank you so much. Tune in each week for a new interview, and every Friday we post an educational segment as well. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and Roku TV is where you can find me, and ChristinaSuter.com is also the central point of so many of these educational segments.